we've got town halls all over the country where Democrats, sometimes even Republicans, but mainly 99% of it is Democrats, are going and getting confronted by these unruly mobs, right? We want to show you some of them, and then I'm going to come back and explain how these, grassroots efforts might not be so grassroots. Let's start with what they did to Sebelius Inspector. It's of course, the head of HHS for the Obama administration, and Arlen Specter, who switched over to being a Democrat in Pennsylvania. They have somebody come on and ask them a question. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is the crowd's reaction as they try to answer the question. Let's watch.
So my question to you is, when congressmen scoff at the notion of reading legislation because they aren't qualified or they aren't competent to understand it, how can we be confident that those congressmen are competent to re-engineer the entire health care system?
I am not a member of Congress, have never been. That's just a fact. I'm just telling you. My observation is I have never seen members of Congress work harder on it. It is unacceptable to me for somebody to hours and hours and hours and hours have been spent. If people say they haven't read the legislation, then tell them to go back and read it.
We do.
It's available.
My practice, when you have a bill, and we have a lot of them that are 1,000 pages, is to take my tax staff and we divide up the bills. We have to make judgments very fast. We give about... is read thoroughly and understood by me before I vote.
The Senate bill isn't written, so don't boo the senator for not reading a bill that isn't written.
All right, now, there's so much shouting there. I don't know if you heard the last thing Kathleen Sebelius said. She said, the bill isn't written yet. How can you blame people for not reading a bill that isn't written? You know why? It's because they've come up with a talking point based on that OMI poll that I told you about a couple of weeks ago. One of the things they found in the poll is if you say to the respondents, when you ask them in a poll, hey, should Congress take their time to read the bill? Who's going to say no to that, right? No, they shouldn't read the bill. Of course they say yes to that. So they figure that's a good talking point. So they've told all these idiots, go out there and ask them, did you read the bill? Except they forgot to tell them, wait till the bill is actually written. So they keep going out there and yelling about how people aren't reading the bills. Now, I got news for you. I'm not a politician, so I can be honest with you. No one reads the bills. Not personally. They have their staff read the bills, okay? And the Republicans did the same thing as the Democrats before. They'd bring up these 1,000, 2,000 page bills, and they'd be like, okay, good luck. Okay, we're voting in a couple of hours. Now, if you have a good congressman, he's already organized, or a good senator, and they give you a couple of hours ahead of time, you might get through that thing, okay? But you roughly know what's going into it in the first place, and but if you had the actual congressman and by the way, they shouldn't. Don't get me wrong. They shouldn't do it in 2 hours. They shouldn't do it in 4 hours. But that's not what's happening here, okay? It did happen sometimes under the Republicans, okay? But it's not what's happening here. What normally happens is congressmen and senators have their staff read it. If you had to have the actual senator read every single bill, he'd do nothing but read bills. Come on, you got to realize that. Please, don't be this ridiculous, right? Now, but I'm pleading with the wrong people because I'm asking you to be a reasonable human being, and I'm pretending as if these are real folks here, real Americans. I'm going to tell you why this stuff is all fake in a second. But look, this booing and not letting them speak, tip of the iceberg for Specter and Sebelius. Let's go to Lloyd Doggett, who's a Democrat from Texas, and he's trying to give a town hall, and this is part of the reception that he got. Let's go to clip number 5 here.
USA,
All right, for those of you podcasting the show, there's, of course, a picture of Doggett as a Satan, okay? And obviously. And another congressman in another town hall was burned in effigy, okay? And he's not allowed to speak because they keep chanting, just say no, over and over. Now, we gave you a little snippet right there. That thing lasts forever. They just keep chanting and not allowing him to speak. We got another goofy one for you. It's Carl Levin being chased by these guys who think they're going to be clever and shout out the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's watch that last one.
Come talk to us!
Your constituents are asking
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You remember those words?
Yeah, that's very clever. Like, do you remember those words? Yeah, dude, I got it. I know what the Pledge of Allegiance is, and we could all say it. If they did it to Representative Mike Castle, who's a Republican from Delaware, too. Like, as if like, ha! We got you with the Pledge of Allegiance. What does that mean? All right, so, and now this is not isolated incidences. Politico is reporting it's happening to Representative Tim Bishop of New York. These are all Democrats. Alan Boyd of Florida, Tom Perriello of Virginia, Bruce Fraley of Iowa, Dan Maffei of New York, Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, Russ Carnahan of Missouri, and the list goes on and on. Okay, so you say, well, look, these are good American citizens voicing their concerns. And I actually, when I first read this story, I thought, well, look, this is part of democracy, part of freedom, certainly freedom of speech. Now, if they were voicing their concerns during the question and answer period and they allowed people to speak, I'd say go forward, right? Because that's part of America. In fact, I liked it if citizens are concerned. I like that they're worked up. And we should have had a hell of a lot more of this during the Bush administration, right? Now, but you got to let people speak. And I say this every time, whether it's a liberal protester or a conservative protester, you got to let people speak. Otherwise, there's no point to these events. Now, color me naive, because of course, this isn't real. It's fake grassroots. There are two organizations, Americans for Prosperity and FreedomWorks. FreedomWorks has put out a document explaining what you should do at these town halls, and then Americans for Prosperity. And you're going to be surprised to find out both of these organizations funded by private corporations and healthcare industry. Really? Who knew? And Americans for Prosperity, they take people and they bust them around the country. You think these are your local constituents? They're not your local constituents. They're busting the same clowns all over the country. Now, they might have a different set of clowns in the Northeast and a different set of clowns in the West, etc., but that's the strategy. Now, if you think that's bad, wait till you get a load of the memo from Bob McGuffey, a volunteer for FreedomWorks. And this is the template they're using. Point number one is a way to artificially inflate your numbers. Quote, spread out in the hall and try to be in front half. The objective is to put the rep on the defensive with your questions and follow-up. The rep should be made to feel that a majority, if not a significant portion of at least the audience, opposes the socialist agenda of Washington. Do you get that? Trick the representative into believing you're the majority when you're clearly not. Okay, the guys that we busted. Point number two, be disruptive early and often. Quote, you need to rock the boat early in the rep presentation. Watch for an opportunity to yell out and challenge the rep's statements early. Okay, be disruptive as possible. Okay, point number three, try to quote unquote rattle him. The goal is to, again, quote here, the goal is to rattle him, get him off his prepared script and agenda. If he says something outrageous, stand up and shout out and sit right back down. Look for these opportunities before he even takes questions. Now, you don't want to get thrown out, so that's why you sit back down, right? But try to interrupt him at every opportunity before question and answer and shout him down as much as possible. Is this the healthy debate we want in the country over health care reform? You think there are really all these Americans going around the country saying, no, I don't want health care reform. I don't want it, damn it. You know what? I am thrilled that my premiums have gone up 119% since 1999. I can't wait for them to go up higher. Are there really a group of constituents in America that are going around saying that? Oh, you know, and the 46 million Americans that don't have it, they're like, oh, I just can't wait to have not have insurance for longer. Okay, no, this is totally manufactured. This is what they spend their money on to try to convince us that, in fact, healthcare reform is unpopular when the polls show the exact opposite. Don't believe the hype. It's absolute nonsense manufactured by the industry.